So a question I've been getting a lot on the channel lately is if people should be getting back into Wiz going into 2026. Now, this is probably because all of the console hype within the past month, and I haven't really made a whole video on the whole console launch, but a lot of people are. I know like Kaiser Noah in the community is, and his channel is doing great, so I'm happy for him, along with some other people as well. In this video, I am going to give a review of Wiz, basically everything it has to offer, and break it down. To put this into perspective for y'all, I have maxed out every school. I've also been Warlord on, I think, 5 or 6 out of 7 of the schools as well at max level. And I've done pretty much every piece of content there has been to offer over the years. So I'm just going to offer my opinion on this. Again, this is not going to be a shill's opinion at all. There are some creators like that in the community. You'll probably, know them when you see them. But yeah, without further ado, I am going to get into the good things about Wiz. I will have timestamps, for good and bad and whatnot down there if you want to skip ahead. So the first thing I want to talk about is going to be Wiz's strong suit, and that is going to be the PvE experience from level 1 throughout max level. The best time I've had on Wiz, whether it's younger or, of recent years, is simply just going from, being a noob to max level and enjoying the journey. That is when Wiz is at its peak and it really shines. Wiz has put out some data before, and I don't even know what it was, but like over half of the game isn't even max level. They're like stuck around like level 100 kind of level, which is really insane to think about. It's no secret that the legacy design of Wiz is absolutely peak, along with the art and sound team. Even to this day, if a bad update gets pushed out into the live realm, you can always count on the art team to do a good job. The next thing I want to talk about is going to be the power spikes in leveling. So while you're questing through the game or world, this is something OG Wiz got right, but you had the choice to either keep questing and not upgrade your gear, or you could stop, go and investigate stuff and get some better loot, farm some better loot. If you guys are curious what gear is worth farming in Wiz while questing through the game, I will link that in the top pinned comment below. To this day, that actually happens to be my most successful video ever on the channel. I will say though, if you are playing with a competent group of people, you won't need to spend a whole lot of time farming. For example, when I was maxing out my last 2 characters, I would only do Waterworks a couple of times, and then Darkmoor a couple of times, until I was max level. I didn't really have to do Aquila because I already had the wand. I would just transfer the Sky Iron Hosta over. Didn't need to waste my time, making Winter Tusk gear and, doing Hades and whatnot, or Dragoon farming, which I also think is a testament to how well designed the OG Wiz was. If you were cracked, you could fly through the game not needing to spend the time farming all the meta gear sets, and it really is a beautiful thing. So to sum this up, basically the legacy design of Wiz is just amazing, and that's what you guys are going to experience, which is great. And on top of that, the art and the sound team and even the voice acting is very, very good. Now, let's get into some of the negatives in the video here, because there are, quite a bit. Now, thankfully, generally, before I get into this though, if you are questing through the game, which again, like, according to the data, over half of the game is not even max level, this isn't really going to apply to you, a whole lot of the negatives, okay? But let's get into them. So, you probably heard me mention the legacy design of Wiz quite a bit in the positive section of the video, and once you become an endgame player, that all goes completely out the window along with school identity. Endgame, by the way, it is when like you're at the max level, all the quests are done and there's nothing to do, is what I mean by endgame. I've been playing games my whole life since I was like 4 years old, and I started playing comp games around like 12. I'm 25 now. I know, Unk status, whatever. But point is, I have never seen a game struggle more with endgame content than Wizard101. On paper, there's a lot of stuff to do. However, there is either no reason to do it, because either the rewards are laughably bad, or there's no upgrade in the gear for like grinding something out. Just like we saw in this Darkmoor world, right? If you're on a storm at level 180, you waited 2 years for a 1 damage increase. Like, that is pathetic. That is terrible. Something else you can do for endgame content is spellements. Now, these were actually a great concept. I remember when I first heard about them, I thought they were actually a pretty lovely idea. However, the execution was abysmal to say the least, and over time, the devs have made improvements to the system, but you're only getting tier 5 if you treat Wiz like it's your full-time unpaid job. In case you don't know what spellements are, they are essentially the cards you know and love. So, I don't know, let's take, what's something iconic? Triton, I guess, maybe? So, spellements will let you upgrade the top path and get more damage, usually, or a bottom path, which will give you utility. Next thing I want to talk about is going to be the endgame content of challenge mode, rematches, and whatnot, even raids. Again, on paper, these are really cool. However, what you get from doing them is honestly a joke. Mostly challenge mode, not so much raids. I mean, some raids are better than others, of course, but we're not going to talk about that too much here. So, for doing every boss rematch through Arc 1 to Arc 3, you get a hat, robe, and shoes, and that's it. To put this in perspective, y'all, I've been working on doing the Arc rematches for a little under a year now, and I'm just about to be done doing that, and I get paid to play this game. Okay, y'all. I don't like work for KingsIsle, obviously, but I make content on the game, and obviously I make money off of that as well. So in a way, I do get paid for playing the game and uploading it, right? But even someone like me who has everything, has connections, it is so grindy that it still takes that amount of time. The amount of runs you have to do are just extremely unrealistic, whether it's Walroo, where you have to do a boss 50 freaking times, or in the rematches, it's between like 20 and like 35, which is insane. And again, this is assuming you have the resources to do a said role and make a competent group and whatnot. Just like spellements, great idea, but poor execution, which is why the majority of the players do not engage in doing these endgame activities. You get nothing out of it other than wasting your time. This next point is going to hit home for me because it's personally my favorite thing to do in Wiz, and that is going to be the PvP. Now, I love this mode a lot. I played it a whole lot, you know, competitively over the past 4 years. It has a lot of potential. I think anyone could agree with that. However, I said the same thing like 4 years ago, and we've barely moved forward, you know? So there are massive red flags the size of the Eiffel Tower that the developers refuse to fix. And I'll list a couple of the main issues here. I could probably rant here for like 10 minutes, but I'm not going to. A, shields and healing have been broken for years. B, school identity isn't a thing anymore because of the change in design philosophy. C, the barrier to entry is way too high considering how low quality the PvP is right now. And D, spells are broken for years. Some of the, off the top of my head, are like Ghoul, Scales, Poison, just all absolutely busted. None of these spells honestly should have really made it out of test realm, let alone into live realm for 2 to 3 years. Absolutely insane. Something I have fundamentally noticed, you know, whether it's been working with the devs and whatnot. I've been on like a KI Live and stuff like that, and I talk to them quite a bit in the DMs and whatnot. But something I've noticed is they are just extremely, extremely slow to update PvP. And if they do update PvP, it's something nobody asked for, you know? Or it's like something two people asked for, you know? So like it's just their priorities there with PvP just simply aren't in line. You know, like you'll have schools that are like number one, number two for 2 years, and they'll be getting buffed every update. And then you'll have schools that have sucked for like 3 years or how many years, you know, and they get nothing, you know. So they just need to do a better job with their priorities and, you know, taking community feedback in and whatnot. The last point I want to talk about here is going to be the lack of moderation. So this applies to the whole game, by the way. But for example, in PvP, about a month or two ago, I was being held hostage in a game for 2 hours by someone who was banned for stream sniping and jading, which is exactly what he was back doing live on my stream in this case. But I messaged the people I know at King's Isle and nothing got done. Any other game, someone who is blatantly breaking into to us live with a ton of people there, when the company knows that person, like they would get banned instantly, right away, or at the very least at the end of the day within like 24 hours, right? But in this case, I think to this day, I've heard rumors this guy is still in the game, right? After ban evading, doing this live on the stream, admitting to it after the match in the arena, said that, you know, he cheated and he's going to keep doing it and keep making accounts when he gets banned. And he's still around. I've heard rumors he's still around like a month and a half later. Absolutely insane. It's just embarrassing the moderation on this game. Overall, if you are just getting back into Wiz or you're nowhere near the end game content, there is a lot of fun to be had in this game. And I know right now, I didn't really talk about this at the start of the video, but Wiz on PlayStation actually is doing very well. It's, you know, actually up there with like the titans of the game industry and whatnot for a little bit, which is pretty cool to see. And I'm really hoping that Kingswell can capitalize on this and reinvest stuff back into the game, whether it's like moderation or better quality updates, more developers, just something to fix the issues that have been plaguing the game for years. The best parts of playing Wiz right now, like I talked about earlier, is the journey of enjoying the legacy design of Wiz. However, once you hit that max level and the new systems are in place and school identity is out the window, it's just downhill from there, man, you know? And the updates you get between worlds are just lackluster, to say the least, in form of the endgame content, of course. So yeah, I think I did a pretty good job in this video between the positive and the negative and whatnot. And, you know, of course I make videos like this to help y'all because you were asking me to, but also hopefully the devs can look at the negatives and, you know, turn this ship around, because I mean, I do want to make another video talking about this, by the way. I'm just kind of yapping at the end here, but I feel like with the recent resurgence of Wiz interest, like, again, I'm happy for them, but I kind of feel like Wiz doesn't really care about their endgame players, and we kind of touched on that in this video a little bit too. But it's like they just like don't care about the endgame people, and they just want to focus on, you know, getting new players in, and the people who are just, you know, stuck somewhere in the middle, which I guess is a business, it makes sense or whatever. But and a lot of other businesses do this, by the way, too. Like I played other games where they do the exact same thing, right? Like they're players who have been loyal for years and like held up the company and whatnot. They just like they don't care about them anymore. They're not their target audience, and it just it feels really shitty. But I think we're just gonna see Wiz go more in that direction over time. But again, hopefully they can actually implement feedback and reinvest back into the game for better updates, better moderation, and hopefully a bigger team. So yeah, hope this video was helpful, y'all. Let me know your thoughts and feedback in the comments below. If you have any questions, I will help you, of course. I will see you on the next one. Thank you for being here. Take care, and goodbye.